Welcome to Reckless Paradise, everyone. I'm your host, Marissa, and I'm here with my co-host, Dystro. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Happy Thursday. We're into our final week of April. May starts on Sunday, actually, so we'll be doing our first episode of the month. Yeah.
Woo!
Rolling into month number 5. Oh my god.
Time is going by so fast.
It is. It's freaking flying. So on tonight's episode, we're gonna kind of get into a bit of a sadder topic, which we do sometimes here on the show. So we're going to discuss some celebrity deaths that impacted us in a big way. Some recent, some from years ago. So I had sent Dystro a list this morning of people I came up with, and obviously there's probably going to be some that I did not add. So he can add some if he wishes to. Are you ready?
Yes, trying to hold back the tears, but it's all right.
Jeez, we haven't even started yet. Oh, Jesus. All right. So, speaking of recent people, now, if you guys remember us from our Spotify days of this podcast when we first started, you would know that our pilot episode was the Bob Saget tribute. Bob Saget had just passed away earlier this year on the night of our pilot episode, January 9th. What do you know about Bob Saget Day Show?
Well, I know from his times in Full House and stuff, and his time at America's Funniest Home Videos. He was a good man. He was a good comedian.
He was, and I think what hit me hard the most was the fact that I grew up around Full House. Full House was like one of my favorite shows of all time growing up as a kid. Still is up to this day. My sister likes it too. Um, it's just that part right there. Just I grew up watching that shit. Danny Tanner was the shit. You gotta admit, he was like the dad that we all wanted. Oh, I think I lost Ice Show again. Okay, we'll just keep going. Um, yeah, Bob Saget was the dad that we all wanted growing up as kids. Oh, there you are.
I hate my
Tentacle,
technology right now.
is it your phone or is it like
I
the
don't
Wi-Fi?
know, but it's just keep rolling.
Okay. So yeah, Bob Saget definitely was one of the bigger ones that impacted me the most, considering he's like one of those icons I grew up with as a kid, and obviously I still watch his stuff now. And even the Comedy Central roast thing that I found on YouTube months ago about Bob Saget, that was the best. It was hilarious.
It's just
Mm.
like it's just like when you it's like when you watch somebody for so long and then you get used to them and then they just pass away like just like that, like Thanos snapped and just like, okay, he's gone. Okay, he's gone. Okay, they're gone. It's just crazy.
It is. And it's like you get so used to this person, like when you're watching them or just like listening to them, if you're talking about an artist, for example. And once they're gone, it's like, oh my God. It's like you kind of like, oh, what's the saying I'm looking for? You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Like you take
That's
things for
true.
granted. Like people take a lot of things for granted, including spending time with people or listening to music and stuff like that. Like it's just we need to like be careful with that. Like try not to take life for granted. Don't take your opportunities for granted, especially when it comes to communicating with people or listening to a band that you've been dying to listen to because one day they're going to be gone. They're not going to be here anymore. And that's the sad, honest truth. So just a heads up, everybody, as you guys remember, we do have some technical difficulties here on Dystro's end. So if you catch me rambling, it's because I'm trying to keep the show going. So that's Bob Saget. Once again, he passed away earlier this year. Like I'm still shocked by it. I'm still not over it, to be honest with everybody who's listening. And Dystro too. I'm obviously not over it. Um, I think I lost him again, but it's okay. We'll keep going. Let's see. I have Tom Petty written down. Now, Tom Petty is another one of those people that really impacted my life in a big way. Um, I grew up around Tom Petty music. I still listen to Tom Petty music up to this day. Oh, I hear Dice Show. I'm gonna keep going so I can get this out. Um, Tom Petty is a big influence in my life. He died. I think he was only 66. He went into cardiac arrest. He was hospitalized. He died in the hospital. He is one of those legendary icons in the music industry that has influenced so many people today. Tom Petty not only did work with the Heartbreakers, but he also did work outside of that as a solo musician, and then some stuff with the Traveling Wilburys. He also played in a movie or two. Just a lot of things. He was just an overall great guy. Just a very big influential person. And obviously, like I said, he's a big influential person to me. I definitely miss him. I still collect his CDs from time to time. I still listen to Tom Petty on the daily. Just one of those people that really hit me hard when they passed. I was a freshman in high school when he passed. I had gotten the news on Facebook. I'm like, no, don't let Tom Petty go. Like, God, we cannot lose Tom Petty right now. And then like later that night he dies. I'm like, oh shit. And that whole night I listened to Tom Petty before I went to bed.
Yeah.
It's tough. Oh, there you are. Hi, Dystro. How's it going?
God, man. It's like, it's always technical difficulties on my end.
Yeah. It's okay. That's why I'm here. You always gotta have backup, you know? We're a team.
Been doing this since January, and like, you think, technical difficulties would be non-factor by now, but no.
What do you know about Tom Petty? Like, did you ever listen to his stuff?
I used to, like, the only song that I know by him is Free Fallin', and that's like, a very common. But
I'm
other
gonna
than
have to share some stuff with you.
share some stuff.
I think at the end of this video, I'll put a Tom Petty song that I recommend people to listen to.
Yeah. But other than that, nothing else. But I know there's like Tom Petty Park in where I live at, so
Yeah, he lives in Florida, and there's like a Tom Petty Park there. I want to go.
yeah, it's in the sign where you first walk in. It has like Tom Petty like cut out like on it, and it says like welcome to Tom Petty Park.
I'm just like, I really want to go. Like, just I literally like if I ever go to Florida, if I go to your neck of the woods, we're going to Tom Petty Park first. I don't give a shit. I am literally one of the I wouldn't say I'm one of the biggest. I am a pretty big fan of Tom Petty. I love his work. I love him as a person. I love his stuff outside of music. I just wish he was still here, man.
I bet everybody does. His family, his friends, everybody.
Ugh. So since we're on the subject of musicians, let's head back in time a little bit. As you guys recall, we just did an AC/DC episode. Was it last week? I believe. I think it was last Thursday.
Yes.
We had mentioned Bon Scott. Bon Scott was another one of those huge music influencers ever, and he died at a really, really young age. He was like 33, I think. Don't quote me on that. He was in his 30s when he died. It was 1980. They were working on the new album. He went to a bar with one of his friends, got drunk, passed out in the back of his friend's car. His friend couldn't wake him up when they got to the house. His friend left him in the car to sleep it off, and he never woke up. He choked on his own vomit and died. And that really rocked the rock industry. That really shook everything up. AC/DC had to find a new singer, which led them to finding Brian Johnson, who is still with them today. Man, I still remember my dad telling me about Bon Scott's passing, how hard it shook the industry of music forever. Obviously, Bon Scott was one of a kind. Like, you cannot find another voice like Bon Scott. And if you can, Lord, please forgive me for saying all this, but I highly doubt you can find another singer like Bon Scott. He was one of a kind.
That's pretty big words.
I'm sticking to my words. I'm in an AC/DC Discord server, and I've seen people talking about like the tribute bands, how like people can sound close to Bon Scott, but not exact. Like, there's nobody who can sound exactly like Bon Scott. He was one of a kind, and I'm putting my foot down. I am standing with that statement.
A lot of probably HD fans are gonna be like, no, 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 no.
They're gonna be like, oh, check out this tribute band. I probably already heard of them. I just don't think they sound exactly like Bon Scott. Obviously, you're not supposed to, but like, I'm just saying, you cannot find another Bon Scott. He was one of a kind, and My God, may he rest in peace. And since we're on the subject of AC/DC, let's jump over to Malcolm Young. He too, we also lost in 2017. 2017 was a shit year for deaths. We've lost so many good people in 2017, and Malcolm Young, unfortunately, had passed a little over a month after Tom Petty did. Tom Petty died October 2nd. Malcolm Young died, I think, November 18th that year. He was ill for a while. He actually had to stop playing with the band because he fell really ill. I can't remember what was wrong with him. Maybe someone can help me out on that. He ended up dying, and that also hit me hard, considering, as you guys know, I'm an AC/DC fan. Malcolm and Angus are like two peas in a pod. They're brothers, obviously. You can't find it. It's like Malcolm too. You can't find another Malcolm Young. Malcolm and Angus are what formed AC/DC. They're the reason why AC/DC exists. If it wasn't for them brothers, we would not have AC/DC. And it just scares me because, like, once Angus dies, AC/DC's over.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but yeah.
It's, like, hard to think about. It's like, oh my God, Angus is next. Like, obviously, like, because Malcolm's gone. And then about a couple weeks later, they also lost their other brother. There was three young brothers. I think his name was George. He also had passed away a couple weeks later. So, like, can you imagine how Angus must have felt?
I couldn't imagine. Look, like I lost one of my best friends like 2 years or 3 years ago, and it sucks. It sucks, man.
And then, like, losing two people less than 2 weeks that are your brothers, like, that has to be freaking heartbreaking. Oh my God. And like I said, Angus is literally the backbone of AC/DC right now. He's really carrying AC/DC right now, in my opinion. Like I said, because the young brothers are the ones that found AC/DC. Like, they're the one that made AC/DC. But man, it's just sad to think about. Like, once Angus dies, AC/DC's pretty much over. It's game over for them. And it's really sad to think about that. Like, especially considering I'm an AC/DC fan. My dad's a longtime AC/DC fan. I'm sure you've been an AC/DC fan for a while, Dystro.
Yeah, thanks to my aunt.
Oh man. So that's Malcolm. Man, I still can't believe he passed away. There's a lot of people's deaths that I'm not over. Like, let's take Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. What year did he die? I'm gonna have to look that up. I should have took notes on some of this.
2015?
57. Wow, okay, another 2017. I told you 2017 was by far the worst year for deaths, in my opinion. I actually remember when Chester died. If you guys don't know who Chester is, lead singer of Linkin Park, unfortunately he tragically committed suicide. I was camping when he died. My cousin, who was with me at the time, he got the notification on his phone. He said, "Hey, look at this." I'm like, "No shit, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park passes away." Like, what the hell? I was shocked. Like, I wasn't a big Linkin Park listener at the time, but I did know a few of their songs, so I was like a little shocked. Like, I knew Linkin Park was like one of the biggest rock groups of time. Oh man, I'm actually getting choked up about this one. I know this one affects a lot of people too.
Yeah, like I think I was in school when I heard about that, and like some of these deaths, like yes, like it's not going to, it's not probably going to affect me emotionally, but in another plane of existence, I would probably be choking up. And I can feel it in your voice, Marissa. So it's like if you need to take a minute, I don't blame you. I can always take
No,
it.
it's all right. It's not really like, it's just like the fact that he died that way, and like hours before that, or even he was like shown in pictures smiling, and that just goes to show that people can hide their mental health issues really well. People can hide it with a smile, and you wouldn't even know it. And like the next day, or even hours or minutes later, they're gone. And I think that's like the most heartbreaking thing about Chester's death is that he, like, I saw pictures of him smiling like hours or days before from his wife. I don't know which social media it was, but Tim, that's like the most heart-wrenching thing, is that you just can't, sometimes you can't tell if someone's suffering.
Yeah, it's sad to see him. It was sad to see him go. Wish he was still, alive and making music to this day. Because it's like shit. Like those vocals that he had were so powerful.
Now, after passing away, we also had another death in 2017. Chris Cornell, the lead singer of Audioslave and Soundgarden. And he also, actually, I'm just looking this up now, he was also the founder and frontman of Temple of the Dog, which I didn't know that. I've heard of the group. I've never listened to their stuff, but now I'm probably going to have to listen to some of that later. Chris Cornell also committed suicide, which is also freaking, like, gives me chills. Like, they both committed suicide, like, months apart from each other. Like, and they were friends. They were good friends. They were really close. So again, that kind of is heart-wrenching. He was only 52. I don't know what I was doing. I think I might have been in school when he passed. I'm not 100% sure. I was in 8th grade at this time because I started my freshman year in September of 2017. But man, like, I had no idea who Soundgarden was at the time. But like, as I got older, as I started going through high school, I started listening to other stuff, and I found Soundgarden on the radio. And that's how I found out who Chris Cornell was, and I'm like, oh, I remember this guy. He died a few years ago. Oh man. And just for those of you who are listening out there, if you or someone you know are going through something, I'm going to leave the suicide hotline number in the description below because it's definitely a good thing to use. And I also recommend the crisis text line as well. I will also leave that in the description below. If you or someone you know is going through something, please use them. You matter. You belong here.
We all
Chris.
we all matter.
Oh man, so let's get away from this topic. I mean, this is all basically a sad episode.
Let's go on a different track.
Let's go to a different person. This one was really recent. This is Gilbert Gottfried, another comedian, also had just passed away this year. This wasn't this a few weeks ago?
I believe so, yes.
This guy was freaking funny. And I'm still shocked. Like, I was coming back. Actually, I just got back from an ATV ride, and I checked my phone, and my local news app popped up, and they're like, Gilbert Gottfried, age 66, has died. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? It's just so ironic because you and I were watching the Comedy Central roast of Bob Saget back in January when he had passed, and Gilbert Gottfried was in that episode. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
It's
The comedy world got hit hard this year. We're only 4 months into 2022, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is not good.
yeah.
Apparently, Gilbert Gottfried had this, like, muscle dystrophy, like, disorder. Like, he had, like, ongoing muscle, like, decrease, and it affected his heart. It gave him a fast heart rate, and I guess he might have went into cardiac arrest or something like that. I guess that's how he died, which is really tragic. He died too young. 66 is still too young. I'm sorry, but oh man. He was freaking funny, bro. Like, hey, do you want to do your Gilbert Gottfried impression?
Why certainly? Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried. I don't know why he sounds like something from Jersey. But it's sad to see him go, but then there's like some people out there like that have nothing better to do, and they just like somebody had taken over his Twitter account and just did random shit on his Twitter account. Like let the man rest. Like,
Yeah, I saw screenshots of that. Somebody had sent that to me on Discord. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why do that? Let the guy fucking rest. Like, he's contributed a lot to the comedy world in general. Like, he's just a really good person. I've seen him on so there was a SpongeBob movie that they did not too long ago. It was shortly after Steven Hillenburg, which we'll get to next. Steven Hillenburg passed away. They did a SpongeBob movie, and at the end, I think it was like SpongeBob's birthday or something. That a whole bunch of celebrities getting happy birthday, SpongeBob. They had Gilbert Gottfried, they had David Hasselhoff, they had a whole bunch of people. And at the end, it said, thank you, Steven Hillenburg. And I'm like, fuck. But anyways, yeah, like, Gilbert Gottfried has also played roles. Like, he's appeared in cameos in different shows and movies and stuff like that. So he has played a big role to society, not just in the comedian world, but in other aspects too. He's a really good guy, and I'm still sad that he passed, but at the same time, I know he's resting. I know that he was probably suffering for a while with that said disorder that I was talking about. So there's always a positive every negative. He's not suffering anymore.
Yeah.
And he's joined with Bob Saget, so hell yeah.
Hey, Bob, what are you doing up here?
So Steven Hillenburg, I did not put on my list, which I freaking regret. He was the creator, producer, whatever you want to call it, of SpongeBob SquarePants. He is the reason why SpongeBob SquarePants came to life. He passed away, I think, my junior year. I think it might have been 2019 he had passed. I was in nursing. I was just about to head home because it was the end of the day. School was over. I was checking my phone. And once again, my local news app pops up. Steven Hillenburg, age, I think he was like in his 50s, passes away. I'm like, no, that's the creator of SpongeBob. And I grew up with SpongeBob. Like, I still watch SpongeBob sometimes with my sisters. I absolutely love that show. This guy created one of the best kids cartoons of all time. And to this day, they're still making episodes. Obviously, they're not as good as the old ones, but it just goes to show this guy started a whole freaking generation's worth of cartoons. He has inspired so many other people out there to do cartoons as well. And I give a big round of applause for that. He is such an inspiration to people. Unfortunately, he died of Parkinson's. He had Parkinson's disease for a while. I didn't know that at all. But yeah, it's just sad. Like, again, another guy that really impacted me in my childhood. Like, SpongeBob was literally my favorite show. Like, one of my favorite cartoons as a kid.
Like SpongeBob. I grew up with SpongeBob, and like I was watching like a YouTuber that like did like animation, like if SpongeBob was an anime, and at the end, he did it in memory of Steven Hillenburg and stuff like that. I was like, what? And then I happened to look it up. I was like, no, he passed. I was like, no.
Yeah. I was really sad when that fucking happened. I literally went home and I'm like, okay, I gotta watch SpongeBob now.
Just be like, okay, it's okay. It's okay.
So we're probably not gonna get through the whole list tonight, which is okay. It is a pretty big list. So let's get into some different people. Let's get into some wrestlers. We're gonna start with the late great Eddie Carrero. Now, I was too young to remember who he was. I didn't find out about Eddie until I hit like high school because my dad was talking about him. He was like, "Do you remember Eddie Guerrero?" I'm like, "Oh, I think I might have been too young." Well, he died in 2005. I was only 3 years old, so obviously I'm not gonna remember him. But I did look into him when I got older, and he is one of the all-time greats out there. I watch the Eddie Guerrero DVDs that I have. It was like talking about his life and stuff. I still get emotional watching them because he was just one of those great people. Like inside the ring, he was down to earth. He was a family man, and family was number one to him. Besides wrestling, wrestling and family were like tied as number one. He was just one of those all-time greats. He has influenced a lot of people, and I'm talking a lot of people, both inside and outside the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this guy died. I think he was 38. He apparently he went into cardiac arrest from previous drug abuse, but he ended up cleaning up his act, before he died. But I guess it was just too late. His heart had already taken enough damage from the previous drug abuse and stuff like that, which is tragic. He turned his life around a little too late.
Yeah, like I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring episode about like the Benoit thing, and it was talking about Eddie's passing and all that stuff, and how it affected like other people that he knew, like Benoit, Vicky, Chavo, like all these other people, Ray especially too. It it just ruined like a lot of people's like lives because like they grew up like with this guy, up and down the road, like every like so many days out of the year. So
Oh, I lost you again. It's okay. I'll keep going. But yeah, there you are. But yeah, I know what you mean. His death really affected everybody, especially Chris Benoit, which I shouldn't be mentioning him, but I don't care. It's our show. Get a life, people. It did affect Benoit a lot. Everybody knows that right off the bat. He was not the same person after Eddie had passed. He definitely suffered with some depression there. That's for damn sure. It just sucks because Chavo, his nephew, was the one that had found Eddie in the hotel room dead. And I can't even imagine how Chavo must have felt, like what must have been going through his. He must have not been able to sleep for a while after seeing that. Like, that's just horrible. But yeah, definitely rest in peace, Eddie. We all freaking miss you. Like, especially me, even though I didn't really discover him till after he died. Because again, I was too young. Another wrestler that passed, now this one hits me personally quite a bit too, is Roddy Piper. I was in middle school when he had passed away. This was like 2015, I believe he passed. I don't remember what age he was. I don't know how he passed. Man, I kind of grew up around Piper because I'd seen him make appearances on Raw from time to time, and my dad was showing me like Piper's Pet and stuff from back in the day on the old wrestling we have here. Piper was just cool as shit. He's definitely one of those influential people. He was really entertaining, especially the whole thing with the freaking fire extinguisher. What the fuck
yeah.
was it? What the fuck's that guy's name? His last name was Downey, but I don't remember. It was Downey Jr., but I don't remember his first name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the whole incident with Piper's Pit, and he took the fire extinguisher, and because the guy was smoking, and Piper didn't like the cigarette smoke or whatever. Yeah, I remember that very vividly. My dad showed me that. Yeah, Piper was just funny as hell. I still can't believe he's gone. Like, it's been, well, 2025 will be 10 years. That's crazy. Like, time does fly, if you think about it. Like, but the thing is, it seems like the more time flies, the more people die. And that's when it kind of gets scary. Because, like, you don't know when your favorite person is next. Like, talking, like, Angus Young, for example. Like, that's, like, the scary thing for me.
Yeah.
So, I guess we will end this episode on one more person. It is not a wrestler. We're going to end this episode on one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Which will lead us into next week's episode for Thursday, by the way. So, I'll be taking notes for that day's show. Because I already have Sunday's episode planned. I figured we'll do this for next Thursday. But Eddie Van Halen, one of the all-time guitar greats, passed away in 2020. I believe it was October 6th, 2020. I was on my way back from hunting with my dad, and I heard it on the radio, because we have satellite radio, and it was like, Eddie Van Halen of Van Halen has passed away. And I'm like, no way. You kidding me? Like, God really took Eddie Van Halen from us. And 2020 was bad enough with the pandemic. You took Eddie Van Halen too. Like, come on, you can't be greedy now.
Yeah, I saw it on my phone, and I happened to tell my mom, and my mom's like, "What? No!" And I could just tell by the tone of her voice, she was just like, "No!"
Oh man, I grew up around a lot of rock music, and Van Halen was one of them. I love Van Halen to death. I have a few Van Halen CDs here. I need to get a Van Halen shirt. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look online and order one. So that'll be probably one of the next things I get. I don't know yet. Um, Now Eddie Van Halen, like I said, one of the greatest guitar players of all time. He's like ranked up there in the top 5 for me, and I think in the world too. Obviously, every freaking list I've seen is like, oh, number 1 is Jimi Hendrix. I mean, yeah, he is good. He is like freaking amazing, and also he passed away too, like way back. But yeah, Eddie Van Halen, man, like that hit me hard. And like shortly after he had passed, his son Wolfgang, also known as Wolf in Mammoth WVH, which is his group that he does for music, he released a song called Distance. And I believe it was dedicated to his father. If you watch the music video, it's like a whole bunch of like old clips of him and his father from when he was growing up. And that's touching. Every time I watch the video, I actually get a little emotional because like I can't imagine how Wolfgang is feeling after losing his father. Now Wolfgang's only in his 30s, I believe. His music's really good, by the way. I definitely recommend you guys check him out. He is absolutely phenomenal. Love his stuff. I hear it all the time on show. They play it, I think, just about every day. I think he just had a new album come out not too long ago as well. So definitely check that out if you guys get a chance. But man, I can't imagine what Wolf is going through still after losing his father almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh man. Have you cried yet?
No, not yet.
I've gotten very, very close, but I did not cry. So yay.
That's why I was saying, like, it's like we try not to cry, but it's like if we do need to, it's like that's why I said, like, like just take your moment if you need to, and just come back like, okay, I'm good.
So I guess that's gonna do it for celebrity deaths. I know there's some on this list that I did not cover. I do apologize, Dystro, but I feel like we did a good amount of people, the ones that really impacted us the most, so far, anyways.
Yeah, hopefully this year will just get better and not worse.
Yeah, like we don't need to be losing like Angus or anything like that. Like that would be bad.
Don't jinx it.
Oh man. But yeah, if you guys stuck around to the end, thank you for sticking around and supporting us. We really appreciate it. So Sunday's episode. Let me take a look at my note. What did I put for Sunday's episode? Ah, yes. This episode, we welcome to some wrestling once again, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be discussing our personal top 10 favorite pay-per-views from 2002 all the way to 2008. Now, we're not going to do each year like our top 10 from 2002, top 10 from 2003. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to pick 10 pay-per-views that are our favorites from that time lapse, I guess. Like that time frame from 2002 to 2008. So I'm going to ask you to come up with a list.
Right, that's fine, but that's gonna be interesting because I was like, I would probably be almost 4 by the time 2002 December comes around. So I wasn't watching back then, but I mean, it would probably be nice to go back and just relive some of the golden era stuff.
Right. Now, for me, I was born in 2002 during the John Cena era where John Cena already had debuted and stuff. Now, since I've been born, I have watched, now that I'm older, I have watched pay-per-views from that time period. So I do have a list in mind.
Come prepared, I have not.
I'm going to have to just write it down probably tomorrow. I'll take my list and write it down. Excuse me. So that is going to do it for tonight's episode. We appreciate you guys for sticking around to the very end, if you did. And thank you guys for listening. And we will catch you guys on Sunday. Bye.
Bye.